So this topic was coming because it is a topic that every playwright has to deal with, and probably every theater artist as well. And that's the topic of rejection. Rejection is kind of, unfortunately, part of the deal, unless you're just one of those really lucky people who every step of the way everything has happened for them without trying. But that is rare. The reason why this topic has come up for me this week is because there was a really cool opportunity that I was kind of hoping that I would be able to get, and I just found out I did not receive it. And it's funny because I know it's gonna be fine, but it's interesting that even though I wasn't necessarily sitting there waiting for the response, it was still in the back of my mind. So when I read the email, there was still just that little feeling. And that feeling ranges from kind of a self-doubt to a sort of, why do I keep doing this? Which is so silly because it's not like anything bad has happened. But what I'm realizing is this is just kind of the human emotional response, and you kind of have to let yourself feel these things. So, yeah, I am feeling sad, disappointed that this particular opportunity didn't come through. And I also know I'll be okay. I know I'm going to survive. I guess one thing I want to say about rejection is to be wary of the platitudes about having a thick skin and learning not to take it personally. I actually don't know that that's emotionally helpful or healthy. Now, I mean, you shouldn't take some things personally if it really wasn't about you, but I think somebody saying don't take it personally can come across as a little, you should just get over it. Where I actually think the more helpful thing to say would probably be, yeah, that sounds tough. Or, yeah, rejection is a bummer. It's disappointing. I'm sorry that you are experiencing that right now. I don't know. I don't need, and I'm not necessarily needing that from people who are happen to stumble across this video. I guess I'm just trying to say, can we remove the stigma of, or can we remove this impression that we need to not have feelings around it because it's part of the business, so you gotta just keep going? Yeah, yeah, of course, you gotta just keep going, but can we at least give ourselves space and time to process the emotions that we're having? I guess that's all I'm trying to say. So, if and when you are facing rejection, let yourself go through what that's like, because guess what? It's going to keep happening. And I will say it does get easier over time with some things. There are going to be some opportunities that you were just hoping for, right? I would say with this particular one, I was somewhere in between. Like, I know I'm going to be okay. I'm not super crushed, but I am disappointed. It does make me a little sad. And maybe 7 years ago, I don't know why I chose 7, but maybe 7 years ago, this opportunity falling through would have been a more devastating blow to me. But I think I've gotten enough experience now with not getting things. I apply for grants and residencies, and more often than not hear a no or not right now. And I want to talk about this in a future video, but I've learned more and more how not to compartmentalize my emotions from what's going on. And that means letting myself feel the things that come up around not getting these opportunities. And maybe that's a better way of framing it. I think rejection frames it in a way where this other person is pushing you and saying no in this kind of harsh, violent way. And that's not always the case. Sometimes these rejections are actually just people saying, we looked at your stuff and there were these other people who had really, really compelling, awesome stuff. That's not to say your stuff wasn't awesome. It's just to say that we have limited amount of resources and money that can only go to so many people, and we had to choose. So it's not a statement on your quality of work. that's hard because you're not always going to get feedback, and in this case I'm not going to get any feedback on what I could have done differently or better or how I could have made it more compelling. That's okay. So I guess in the end I think there is a way to do both, to kind of get to that place where you realize this is not a statement about you or the quality of work that you do, as well as to let yourself feel how you feel. I think both can exist, and we don't have to be so hard on ourselves in either direction. Something that is helpful sometimes when you're in the face of not getting an opportunity that you wanted is to look at the things that you already have, to list out the opportunities that you have already been given. Think about the people who have affirmed you and who have shared with you that they believe in your work and they're excited about what you're doing. Taking the time to think about that and even talk to some of them if you need a little pick-me-up. I think the other thing to watch out for is to not let yourself get bitter, to not confuse letting yourself process the emotions with letting yourself get bitter. I think it's different to say something like, I am sad, I am disappointed, versus saying, why did they get it? They don't deserve it. They don't know what they're missing. Stuff like that. Those things are actually probably toxic and not helpful versus just getting to how you're feeling and stating that honestly for whatever that's worth. So I actually feel a bit better now having shared that on this video, as weird as that sounds, and hopefully this is helpful for anybody who is doing a random YouTube search on rejection and how to cope. I don't know, I also just rambled a lot, but anyway, my vlogging adventures continue next week.